What's going on, everyone? Badger here. Make sure to like and sub, and let's get into this. Uh, you can see from the title, the best part about all of this, from the Kim Belaires of Sweet Baby Inc. to the Whiskey Echo, Foxtrot, to this right here, the chief DEI and by the way, solid bet that the chief DEI officer anywhere probably endorses a fair bit of racist, sexist discrimination just against certain people. Otherwise, they'd be horrified if you said this was against an underrepresented group. But here, let's see, because I know at some point they're going to do it in their own words. Warner Brothers Discovery chief DEI officer endorses discriminating against employees who disagree with DEI ideology. They'll leave themselves, which is great. Yeah, it's great to lose all your workforce. According to Warner Brothers, Spencer, why would you choose the strong black woman to put front and center? How dare you? According to Warner Brothers Discovery Chief Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Officer Asif Sadiq, companies seeking to foster a culture of DEI should not seek to compromise with those employees who disagree with the concept of identity politics, but rather outright discriminate against them until they quit. Sure. Sounds about right. And then, yeah, there was some Sweet Baby Inc. influence right there. Lovely idea to kill all the Justice League. Great idea, guys. Sadiq, who I know that probably wasn't Sweet Baby Games. Just throwing a shot at him. Sweet Baby Inc. I got it. Every time I say Sweet Baby Games instead of Sweet Baby Inc., it's a drinking game and you'd all be dead by the end of it. Sadiq, who tends to refer to himself as Dr. Sadiq, despite his doctorate bestowed upon him by the UK's The Open University in recognition of his extensive, it's an honorary doctorate, sucker, extensive DEI work, which is sad, being nothing more than an honorary one, offered his endorsement of this strategy while speaking to the attendees of the Aspen Institute of Business. Aspen, rich mofos. Policy Links, February 20th, the future of DEI in corporate America webinar. Dear God, the future of DEI in corporate America. It's going to be a long one if they have their way. But if we keep not letting them have it, if we keep not spending money on it, then guess what? Well, there it is. Doesn't this look like a fun panel? Oh boy. Per a clip of the event shared by Twitter user Memology, shout out to Memology, the topic of how to deal with employees who might disagree with the company's turn to DEI was first touched upon by one of the webinar's other panelists, Goldman Sachs Chief Diversity Officer Megan Hogan. Of course, recalling her recent attendance at an unspecified and off-the-record roundtable of CDOs, Hogan informed her fellow panelists, one of the things... Here, let's see. It's going to be real. Let's watch this. Oh, no, wait, that's something different. This is done here. Okay, let's see what she said real quick. One of the things that came up with the frustration of having to work with or persuade the most powerful person in your ecosystem that the work is worth it and that they should reveal themselves more. They should take a bigger role, whatever it is. And we came up with this strategy. Find your people and ignore the person you cannot persuade. Yeah, or if you're Kim Belaire, you take your marketing department out for a cup of coffee and then you terrify them. You essentially blackmail them with the negative press you're going to give if they don't capitulate to your demands. And okay, here we go. Warner Brothers Discovery Chief DEI Officer Dr. Asif Sadiq promotes not working with, ignoring, and discriminating against employees who do not support the DEI agenda. Here, get the flashlights. Shine light on the bugs so that we can see their evil. They may be fired, hopefully.
Can I just jump in real quick? That was just wonderful, Megan. My self-care would have been my piece of advice. I went through this at a off-the-record roundtable of CDOs recently, and one of the things that came up that is adjacent to self-care is the frustration of having to work with or persuade the most powerful person in your ecosystem that the work is worth it and that they should reveal themselves more, they should take a bigger role, whatever it is. And we came up with this strategy and I love it. It is find your people and ignore the person
makeup on in the top right.
You cannot persuade. You know exactly who they are. And if you can't bring yourself to do it because of your professional orientation, give it 30 days. Ignore them for 30 days. Don't take the bait. Don't send them the clip. Don't send them the newsletter. Don't send them the deck. Just focus on the people who are willing to do the work, the new arrivals to the work, the new leaders who are preparing.
The new people that you can get early.
Talked about to be better allies, to be more vulnerable, to communicate better. work preparing them,
to be
and
more
find your
vulnerable.
people, even outside of your organization, who can help you fine tune, who can help you make sure that you're not reading the situation wrong, and let you know that you're not alone. But absolutely do not get caught into that spin cycle of trying to persuade the most powerful person that you know who is not interested to be interested, because they're not coming. 30 days, you can do it.
And if I can just add on to that point, because I think it's such a important point, even beyond leaders, there's always those few people who you'll never change. You'll never convince them. You can try for up until the end of eternity, and it will still not happen. We waste so much energy doing that sometimes as individuals, whether you're in a leadership position or in a team and so on. Focus on the ones who want to change, because that way you start changing culture. And if you change culture, hopefully those people who don't want to come around will start saying that this place isn't the way it used to be, and they'll leave themselves.
How's that going for you? Going a long way to changing culture? Because it turns out the majority of the people that you just referenced was most of your audience, was your core demographic.
Which is great. So I think it is about how much of your energy you consume on some of those things. And this point has come up a few times earlier as well, that rather than focusing on those things that you can't impact or you can't change, focusing on the things you can impact and you can change is so important. Even when we're trying to look at, potentially what sort of programs are we running, what sort of things we're doing. I think it's a great opportunity to double down our efforts on things, to do an audit of what's worked, what hasn't worked. Where do we put more effort into? Where do we reduce?
Yeah, what's worked? What hasn't worked? Let's look at every single DE. Oh, look, it hasn't worked. They've all failed spectacularly. I guess we'll keep on doing the same thing. We'll double down, right?
Effort that, didn't necessarily have the outcome. So don't necessarily see something, if you're reducing something or changing something, as a negative. It can be a positive. It's how you create, that mindset. And I think that the sort of looking after yourself as someone who works in the D&I space, or supports the D&I space, is so important, because not just this year, but the last couple of years have been huge. Yeah. And your mental health, your well-being, taking time out to just say it is. And by the way, there's no in my perception that there's nothing wrong with saying, do you know what, it is a bit too much, I'm going to take a bit of time, I'm going to move away.
It's a real struggle. I bet they also agree that streaming would be really hard, them and the Hassan's Pikers. Yeah, it takes a lot of energy to destroy every single franchise they can get their hands on. It really does. It really does. There's so many white men out there to humiliate and make them look toxic. And there's just so many women to turn into insufferable girl bosses that at the end of the day, you really do have to practice self-care. And it's nice to see that that's what their meetings are like. Yeah, we just watched it, and I think he's just going on to retain it. That is what they think. They think that they can get rid of us, and that they can just replace us, and they can't, because unfortunately, no matter how much times you try to push gay Superman's son and LGBT this and Alan Wake, Green Lantern, Alan Scott now gay, and blah 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 blah, Nubia and it's Pamela for Poison Ivy actually looks decent here. They made her really fat and ugly in the other ones. My point is, Dreamer, of course, transgendered. Look, no matter how much you try to push any of this, it's not working. You turned away the audience, all right, but you didn't bring in a new one. And that's the end of this article. So thank you, Spencer. At least you're calling out that, of course, Sweet Baby Inc. is just one of many of the problems. And don't forget that this DEI, every single diversity, equity, and inclusion officer should just be fired right now. I think that would go a long way to making everything better, except for Mr. Tech Rat. He is, of course, the DEI officer here at Badger Studios, and I think even for Nerd Wars. We hired him over at Nerd Wars for Nerd Rage or the Saturday Chill Stream. So if you have any complaints about either Nerd Wars channel or my channel regarding diversity, equity, or inclusion, please give your very long and detailed emails and comments to Mr. Tech Rat. I'm sure he will appreciate it. I surely appreciate it. Make sure to like, share, and sub. If you've done that, thank you. If you're going to do that, thank you. And happy Women's Month or Day or whatever the hell it is.
Well, bye.